On this episode, I get the opportunity to speak with Jori Davis, an Indiana University women's basketball alumni and a 9-year professional of the women's game. Jori has had the opportunity to play in Israel, Romania, Switzerland, Spain, and most recently, Italy. She will speak on what she calls the truths and misconceptions about a lost community, as well as how to prepare yourself for everything that comes with graduating from college and the ins and outs of stepping into a professional career. These are all Jori's views, and they help to make her own story unique in the way that it all unfolds. Here it is, presented in her own light. Welcome to Social at a Distance with Danielle Patterson. Hi, everyone. I'm here today with Jori Davis, who is a 9-year pro and Indiana alum, and she calls herself an advocate for the lost community of overseas athletes. So, Jori, I'm so happy and really excited to be here with you today to just talk about something that I think more light needs to be brought to, especially when talking about the overseas community. And I know you have a lot of experience with that, and I'm really excited to hear your views and hear your knowledge on it. So I think the best place to start would probably be your senior year at Indiana. So I know you became a top 3 scorer in the Big Ten that season. So can you tell me what your mind was thinking when all this was happening, and as far as going and playing, professionally and everything that entailed after that?
Yeah, so, during that time, of course, now I'm far removed from when I was a senior, but I do remember my senior year, I wanted to get to the league. I knew that was my goal. I knew I was playing against other players that were on those draft lists in the Big Ten, and I felt I was just as good. The team success didn't, follow suit, but I knew my personal skill set and IQ was good enough to make it to that league. So that year I was really focused. I was focused on trying to help the team, but also, making sure I did what I could possibly do for myself to get the respect from those that would make the decision to help me get to the league. And, my senior year was a normal year. I mean, I was kind of feeling myself. I had done good things as a player. So, I felt like I was in a good place. I had graduated early, starting my master's. And everyone on campus knew who I was because I was the face of the program once I was a senior. So, everyone kind of knew who I was. My Duncan picture was on the back of buses in Indianapolis, I felt like, okay, yes, it's all set up. I'm on my way. I was just really excited. I was really ready for the next step. But I definitely was putting the work in. I didn't think it was over from there. I definitely was putting the work in and was ready for the journey that I thought I was about to embark on. But, I realized it was soon gonna be something totally different than what I thought, because I was not thinking Europe at all. And it surprises me that now players are starting a little bit to know overseas basketball exists, but I had no idea that, no WNBA, there was something else.
Right. So that takes me into my next question. So like I said, like you had just said, like draft time came around, and I know on your IGTV episode called Truth and Misconceptions About a Lost Community, you pointed out that only 0.9% of eligible players coming out of college actually make the WNBA. And that's the lowest percentage of all major sports. But I mean, you were drafted in 2011 and you were drafted to the Indiana Fever. And then next thing you know, something else happens and you're going in a different direction because you didn't get to participate in training camp. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. I felt like there had to be enough people around me to tell me the truth, to tell me what it was really going to be, to tell me what the journey was going to look like, and tell me what my chances were. That didn't exist. And probably for some athletes, they do need to, just pump them up, make them think, you're a star, you're going to go on and play great and be a star in the WNBA. But that's not what we need. And of course, I didn't know that at the time, but I was drafted. I was actually, when I found out I was drafted, I was in the classroom. And I was in the classroom and a student was like, "Oh, professor, I'm sorry. I don't want to interrupt you, but Jori, congrats, you're drafted." And I was like, "What?" I didn't think I was getting drafted at all.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm at IU, and then as soon as he says it, my agent's calling me.
Mm-hmm.
And mind you, I had just, kind of, as soon as I just finally kind of got with my agent
Mm-hmm.
a while back, preparing for what I was going to do next.
Right.
And she calls like, "Oh, congrats, you got the fever." She just told me some basic like, "Oh, next we'll get ready for training camp, blah, blah, blah." Okay, bye.
Right.
Nothing really, no
Like,
other plan. There was nothing else from there. Just like, "Oh, do your thing, work out, get ready." And I did that. And, I was totally oblivious to what was going on in the business world. There were things going on. There was about to be a 3-way trade that was gonna hurt me. There were other players that were in the first round, second round, and I didn't know that the third rounders don't even get a chance. Really, like it's known that, hey, you go third round, yeah, you're not gonna make it. It's very rare, and so I went in the gym heavy. A couple of my managers, shout out to Drew, shout out to Holly, who were Indiana Fever ball girls and managers as well as IU, and they really invested in me. Like Drew was there to shoot with me. He was empowering me, saying, "Jori, I see them at the practice at the WNBA. You can totally take this spot." And I was excited, and I set up a workout with Stephanie White. I remember Coach Klopp. Those were the two assistants, and I was really gung ho to get in front of them and say, "Look, I need you to see me up close." And got to Indiana Fever, the field house. And, I'm a broke student. So, of course, I had to figure my way down to Indianapolis.
Right.
I didn't have a car.
Mm-hmm.
And everything was shut down. I'm trying to find my way in. I'm like, look, I'm trying to call them. No one's answering. And I finally find my way in. Holly came through. She got me connected and let me in some kind of way. I can't recall. And I remember seeing Stephanie and Coach Klopp in their office, and they were kind of shocked to see me. Because they were like, because they hadn't got back to me. And then they said, "Oh, we can't do the workout today because of whatever." And the next day after I got back to Bloomington, I got the call. I was outside a hairdresser. I think I was dropping one of my teammates off.
Mm-hmm.
Got the call from the GM saying, "I'm so sorry, I have to do this." She cut me. And I was just like, what? How do I get cut before I even get a chance to prove myself? Like, that makes no sense.
Mm-hmm.
And I was very upset, depressed. I didn't get the first team all Big Ten that I felt I deserved, especially after the year I had that senior year. I got second team. And so all those things, I was just really down on myself because at that moment I thought, dang, I failed. Like, I'm, what I thought I was going to accomplish, I didn't.
Right. But then, I mean, the next thing that happens is you speak to your agent. Your agent says, you have to go to, I believe it was Israel. And you have to score. You came back. You were top 10 in scoring in Israel. And I want you just to tell me now, just go kind of in a different direction. What are some of the advantages and disadvantages of playing overseas? Because I feel like a lot of times we're left in the dark to find those things out as players. I know people that I've spoken to until they're actually over there and in those positions. And they're like, whoa, this is so much different than what I thought it was. So,
yeah. So the disadvantages is like this. I'll tell you as a story. You get overseas, you have no idea that everything you were blessed with at your university is not going to be there. And so you think you're going to manage your body and everything the same way you've been used to managing it at college, and that's just not going to happen. So you get there and you get to a house that is not as good as your apartment that your scholarship check paid for in college. You might get there, Wi-Fi might not be there. So you wait, you're calling your agent probably, because if you're a rookie, you're calling your agent saying, I don't have Wi-Fi, because you're scared because you don't know how to communicate with the people there.
Yeah.
And, you need the Wi-Fi because you don't have a phone plan set up because you're trying to just use WhatsApp. So you have all those things, you're isolated, and then you're going through this journey and you realize immediately not just me, but I've talked to recent players that left their universities and they felt like they never played there for 4 years. So now immediately you felt like this group of people and institution was for you, and now all of a sudden they didn't forgot. They on to the next, you know? And so I think that part right there, the disadvantages is that you're isolated. The disadvantages is that people soon forget what you did, where you come, you know, where you're coming from, what you did for that institution, what you did for that university. Those resources and access to those types of people it just seems obsolete. Now, of course, you know, if I would have called Mr. Rob and been like, hey, Mr. Rob, I need some help. I got a groin injury or something. I'm sure he would have helped in some way. But at the same time, you're not paying Mr. Rob no more. No one, you don't have the funds no more to even if you wanted to pay for these type of people. And, you know, that's one of the things as well, is like over in America, if you're WNBA, you're around these people all the time. You're around sponsors, you're around all these people that can help you grow in your dual career. Overseas, nothing is set up for you to maintain your dual career. The only thing is set up for you to get paid and you play basketball. And that's it. And that's one of the biggest disadvantages. The advantages, however, is that you are a very unique individual after you go through this process, because not many people travel. There's people that influencers, they travel for like a week or less and they're in these places, but they don't live there. And you're living there. You're going through the challenges of trying to communicate. You're trying to build your life there. And that's something that is very valuable to anyone, because you're rare. Not many people live the lifestyle. So that's one of the keys. I think that's one positive thing about it. Another advantage is traveling the world. Once you're overseas, it's very cheap and inexpensive to get to country. And so the experiences you gain, if you have an open mind, of course, if you're open to letting yourself travel and open to talking to this little Italian man that you don't know what he's saying, but if you just give him a high five, one beautiful thing about it, like you meet new people who appreciate you, you know, because you are an athlete. You do have that stature, and they love that. It's tax free, of course. So if you can know the advantages when it comes to money, you can really utilize that to prepare yourself up, even if you're going to be 3 years. You know, it's tax-free money and everything's paid, full expenses. So there's opportunity there. Mm-hmm. And then one thing people don't understand is that there's also opportunities to do a dual career. If you do something that's digital, if you into writing or blogging or whatever, and you have something set up as a career option, playing and being able to do that, that's two sources of income. So you're living that dream that you see everybody talk about, no 9 to 5 and live and travel in the world. We live that as overseas athletes. We just haven't figured out how to bring that extra dual career piece. And so I think, you know, there's a number of advantages. I can go on and on that we have and that we can have with increase of resources.
Got it. And I like that you use the word unique too, because I mean, I feel like everyone's opportunities and experiences have been unique. And even to go back to what you were saying about just the resources and stuff that you have. I mean, a few years ago, probably like 2 years ago, I got the chance to go overseas and play in Italy with my team. And I mean, everything was just so different. And I think after that experience, you come back and you're really thankful for the resources that you do have, like the Game Ready and the Normatex and the ice baths. But at the time, you're like, oh, I got to go get in this ice bath. But then when you come back, you're like, okay, that's where I'm headed, because you don't have those things. I mean, it was simple as like the air conditioning in the gyms. You know, we were at halftime. We were outside talking at halftime. So, I mean, it really does put things into perspective for the resources that you do have as a collegiate athlete. But my next question for you is, why do you think this information is not spoken about a lot? Why do you think it's so safeguarded? You know, you said it, I think in your IG episode, like, you know, you got to the point where it was like, okay, I'm getting ready to graduate and I know this, but I might not know this. So why do you think we don't have those conversations, especially if you're in the WNBA or if you're getting ready to go overseas and play? We're all running the same race, kind of.
Yeah, I think one of the reasons is, you know, when we just talk about the basic rules of power, in order to stay in power, you need to have a group of people that are uneducated, that aren't knowledgeable. And so you keep that power because they have to rely on you. As soon as someone, knows what you know, they don't need you anymore. And I think with agents and certain business leaders, it was never in their best interest for us to be knowledgeable. It's in their best interest for us to just trust them blindly so they can do everything. And for me, that just didn't seem correct. That we needed to know what we had to do to manage our careers from a business standpoint, and then from there, if we don't want to manage it on our own, we hire you, not the other way around where we don't know anything, and so we literally have no other choice to be a slave to you because you know everything. You have all the network, you have the connections. So I think that's the first thing. I think the second thing is lack of mentorship. I think those that are in my position just never really took initiative and said, it's my duty to make sure whoever coming from my university, is my duty to make sure they don't fail. Yeah. Like it's my duty if I'm coming from UCLA, they don't fail. And some schools, they have that culture. I'm sure UConn has that culture. I'm sure those top schools, because they have so many pros coming out of the program, they have that culture. But for that girl that's D2, that's the first one to make it, or that JUCO player, or players from just, power schools like Indiana and stuff, or, different schools. However, the culture is not packed tight like those schools I just mentioned. And so the players just become so selfish and self-consumed on, I got to make it, I'm going to make it. Then once they make it, it's about, I got to stay here. And then when they're done, maybe sometimes it's embarrassment of now you're done with your career and you haven't built up nothing. So now you're trying to figure out life. So you just totally lose the fact that everything you did go through is valuable. That intellectual property is needed by somebody else, but we don't do that. And so, I think it's just a number of things as to why that knowledge is not out there. And one of it is that we just never had a platform to share it. We never had a platform to really, share what we need to know to really, within each other, say this person is bad and announce that to the whole community so nobody gets done dirty. We don't have that place. And, our institutions, our universities, they're not in that business.
Yeah. And then I want to even talk about, you said use the word platform. So you're the founder of the Weeball Society and the Unguarded podcast. And I mean, that is your platform and that enables you to speak about these topics. So can you talk about what you're trying to highlight through that platform?
Yeah. So Weeball is basically an exclusive peer-to-peer ecosystem of validated resources, mentors, and experiences. And within that ecosystem, it's an exclusive group of athletes. And we target the overseas community and those athletes that are looking to come overseas. And, we're trying to provide them with a plan on how to get overseas, a plan on how to maintain overseas, and a plan on how to exit and balance that, and then build a community for us. So we tackle those issues like mental health, loneliness. So we tackle the issues of, I don't know what to do in my downtime. And so, that's one of the things we've always looking to accomplish. And we want to do that, of course, through new technologies and new ways of doing business. The Unguarded podcast is truthfully trying to get athletes to just be real. Like, let's be unguarded. It's time to say what we need to say, especially during this time. You see so many athletes, truthfully, a lot of athletes and non-athletes, especially those of color, telling their truth. Yeah. People are scared because right now it's like, all right, go ahead. Yep. Share it. Let it go. Yeah. Yeah. So people out there like, oh, yes, call out this one. And that's what Unguarded, that's what I wanted to try and accomplish. Of course, now with everything going on, it's like now everybody can just do it. Mm-hmm. But for me, it's, the Unguarded podcast is for us to tell our truths, our lows, highs, the worst times, the great times, but, target those that aren't the big names. Mm-hmm. We know we can probably find LeBron's story start to finish on YouTube and everything. Whereas Whereas the other group of players that are pros that are in the overseas market that have great stories. Where are those? They're not out there. And so that's what the Unguarded podcast, that's what we're starting to do. The Weave Off blog that we'll soon start releasing some content will be, craziest stories from overseas, or, if I knew what I knew now stories, that's the type of stuff we want to kind of get out there. The truth.
For all that it is. So I want to know, at some point, the ball's going to stop bouncing, but I'll get there in a second. What is a project that you wish that you could pursue right now playing? And then what is a project you wish you could pursue in the future? Maybe when you're done playing and maybe you want to give back to your community. It could be anything.
Yeah. So definitely Weave Off is something that's now and the future. But one thing I know I've wanted to try to make happen was definitely me as Jori to give back to the amateurs, those trying to make it now to college, and help them curate a plan, help them create a decision matrix to take emotion out of their, recruiting process and bring in some more data and facts. And also me go with a few other elite athletes who are now pros, and we take video content of as if we were back in that day and we were going through our official visit. Do all of that and then do a report on the school based on our knowledge now being far removed, knowing what we know now, we give a report. And so now players, before they even choose to go on an unofficial official, they have this source. Parents have that source to help them open their eyes and get out of the emotion and say, okay, decision. And then advise them on, okay, what's the team layout right now? Let's look at that. How you want to play? What are you really going there for? And do that. And that's something I definitely want to do right now, as well as, give back to New Orleans anywhere I can. That's where I'm from. That's where I was born and raised. That's ingrained in me, no matter where I've been over the world. And so whatever way I can give back to New Orleans and share my story, especially to the young ladies playing basketball, that's what I want to make happen. As far as the future, it's around the same things. I really want to be a global voice. I don't just want to stay in America. I feel like I love immersing myself in different cultures. I feel like I can relate to those different cultures. So I kind of want to be that bridge to say, okay, this is the American athlete, this is the Italian athlete, but guess what? Y'all different. But when we hear, let's learn how to be empathetic. Let's learn how to realize that we're different, but we all in the same struggle as athletes, because we all fight in the same powers that be. And really start to do camps and stuff all over, like in India, Africa. I really would love to build the Weave Off brand to be global, where now we're really educating, having experiences, and connecting athletes all over the world. That would be awesome to me.
Yeah, and that's really cool. I liked what you said, specifically about, going into college and helping kids that are, getting ready to take that big leap, because it is a big leap and you're trying to juggle, so many different things at once, especially if you have the privilege of, talking to a lot of universities and a lot of coaches. And that emotional part, I mean, that's really big.
Mm-hmm.
The more you start to talk to coaches, you become a little bit more connected and you're like, okay, I want to go here. But then it's like, okay, not really the best place for you. And I mean, for me, that was 4 years ago. But I know for so many people, that's like right now. And sometimes it can get confusing and it can get hard. And, sometimes you have to make that second choice. But I think having someone like you who's gone through it on so many different levels, I think that just helps so much. So that brings me to my final question for you, Jori. So if you're at where you're at right now and you could go back and tell senior Jori in college, anything, what would it be? I'm not trying to make you cry, I promise.
Yeah, I know, man. That one, that would make you cry. Let her, so if I was to go meet up with Jori back at IU, I would have told him meet me at Dats. We would have got some seafood, some Cajun food. We would have met at Dats on Bloomington, and I would have told her, the loss you just took, far as not making it to the WNBA, is really a blessing in disguise. I would have told her to not let this moment define you, to bounce back as fast as you can. Deal with it, get over that, quicker. Like, let it go about Big Ten not being first team. Let it go about, your pictures being taken down as soon as you graduate. Let that stuff go, because you holding on to it does nothing to those that didn't care. You know, your legacy here is your legacy here, and now it is what it is. I would tell her to be open minded as much as possible, to immerse herself in every culture, everywhere she goes. Don't compare to who's here or who has this money. I'm getting paid less. Just maximize your opportunity where you are, because that's the valuable thing. You can make this much more money, but if you're not maximizing and making sure you gain the most value out of the situation you're in right now, the money will never be able to make up for you being in the now, in the relationships you would build. And so I would also tell her to take her time. Take her time. Don't be rushed. Don't allow other people to define your worth, and rush you into things that just don't make sense. Ask questions. Don't be so prideful. Um, and then at the end, I would just tell her to keep being the Jori that you were since you were from in New Orleans. Keep being the person that is open. Keep being the person with a sincere heart. Loyalty is first, and no matter what the business is doing, the cutthroatness, the politics, stay true to you, and that's what's gonna make you way more valuable in the long run than any of them that's in the race.
That is, that was great. That's wow. I
Yeah.
But I just want to say thank you so much, because I remember when you came to our workouts last summer, and I think I was sitting by you, and I came over and introduced myself, and you told me who you were, and you were just an open book from that moment there.
Hmm.
I mean, talking about
Yeah.
that mentorship that you talked about before, you didn't hold back, and you were so ready to help in any way you could, even in that moment, and meaning the small time that was. And I mean, I appreciated that, and it really, really made my day to be able to talk to you. And I know I learned so much from this conversation. I hope everyone listening has taken something from it, and I wish you the best and continued success on your journey.
Yeah, I thank you as well for having me. As I said before, like, I think it's my duty, especially from those who are about to follow in my footsteps from IU. It's my duty to help them make the best plan possible before they go down this professional journey, before they go down the life journey in general. So I thank you for having me on.
Thank you so much, Joy. I appreciate it.
Oh, anytime.
All right.